is Edward. So we have to listen to him on this
Which
because this is new to me.
You do you, and I'll do me.
In my day,
And
it was
if it
called the
doesn't
Seafood
work,
Diet.
Now here's the
It's
thing,
like the
Edward.
invisible hand of
Wait a minute. I'm
economy.
gonna throw a caveat in there.
The invisible hand of
You
health.
do
If
you.
it works.
But if you really do you. And this is a segue, and I don't know if this is part of this segment, but I'm gonna throw it out there. I think we should have like licenses to do anything. I think you should have a license to consume what you want to consume. Do you have a chicken license, sir? Do you have a beef license, sir? And I think it has to be at a very difficult age to attain, not some guy. I've been hunting it for years. Come here, I'll put you in the headlock. There's my, like I want you to take your 10-year-old or whatever out and, again, maybe even raise it a little bit. There's got to be, but you have to me.
A license to eat meat? That sounds like I'd rather live in North Korea.
To me, fatty that
Sorry
walks
if we
in.
have any North
to me,
Koreans, though,
fatty that walks into the thing with her fat kids and just walks up and grabs a bunch of plastic pound value chops and all that and just throws it in there without a thought and just continue. Like, come on, like. Again,
I don't
sorry,
like
this
that.
This is my soapbox.
Indiscriminate
This is the moral soapbox.
Yeah.
But like, I think there's got to be a little more appreciation. Like, our culture is so fast and just go. Like, how about sit the back and really understand what you're doing, and maybe not like give them a choice, but like, okay, this is how this happens. You have to do this in order to eat it. Like, wring a chicken's neck, pluck it, cut it, like you have to freaking do that.
So, Russ, I do agree with you on that. I don't care so much for indiscriminate, like, consumerism, especially of, like, meat products. People don't even think about it anymore. Like, I had this thought 2 months ago when I was spatchcocking a chicken. That's where you cut the spinal cord out and you flatten it so it cooks evenly and faster. And as I was cutting it, I was thinking, like, oh my gosh, like I'm usually removed from the meat process where like you even have to touch the meat.
Right.
So I eat it without even thinking like this was an animal. And as I was like using these big scissors to cut its spine out, I was thinking of someone cutting my spine out. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, this is grossing me out. But I'm like, once it's out of the oven, it's going to be different. You know what I'm saying?
That's
like
carnism. That's how we've been.
People are removed from the process, and I feel like people should have to see the process.
Or
know more about it.
What
or
would
be
Bob
appreciative
Ross
of
do?
this was an animal that was living.
In evolutionary,
and it gave its life for mates.
In an evolutionary sense, it's not true. Apes almost occasionally they'll eat meat, but it's very,
are bugs
very, very occasional.
And do they eat their own poop?
Well,
they do.
Let's not go to poop. That's disgusting.
Well, but they.
But what I'm saying is,
they eat each other.
Our closest relative.
Monkeys
speaking,
monkeys?
our closest relative would be apes. All right.
Hells yeah.
And on that side of it,
God,
I don't think I want to see that.
There was actually a.
Can we write this in?
There was a show where a bunch
I'm
of
sorry,
monkeys.
I just learned that monkeys eat monkeys, and my whole life has changed.
Oh my God, they showed these monkeys swinging through the trees, chasing these other monkeys, and they basically
same kind of monkey.
corralled them. It was chimpanzees, and it was some other type of.
It was a different tribe.
And they corralled this monkey and literally just ripped it.
Jeez,
now
it was horrific.
But that being said, that is incredibly occasional. Like out of the studies of monkeys, since the 1860s, there's been only a handful of exhibits of that. Okay, so it's very, very occasional. All right, so our closest relatives would be apes and monkeys. DNA-wise, that we evolved along a very similar line.
Well, have fun at your family reunion.
So, or yours.
And have you seen
Same family.
gorillas, man?
Same
They're
family.
absolutely jacked. They're not eating meat. So
It's exactly that. You're lucky if an ape ever has meat in their diet in their entire lifetime. All right. They have an occasional insect. All right. They do have an occasional insect, but predominantly it's vegetation that they're eating. All right.
That's true.
And that is our closest relative. Right. Not only that, but we evolved along a similar line. And if you look at our digestive tract and our colons, they're almost identical to an ape's. All right. So because we evolved along a very similar line.
Right, and that's why they have to eat their poop, because they can't digest the the vegetation that they eat.
But
So if you want to start eating poop,
but our ancestors saw that though, and that's why our ancestors had such a diversity.
okay. I mean, great. So something we evolved from is showing us what we should eat. There has been shown.
Not from. We evolved along the same lines.
Okay, but
not from.
How big of a brain do apes have comparatively to their body?
Lord. It's not. It's comparable.
No, it's not. It's extremely small, and that's the number one thing. Once we started eating meat as people, as humans, our brain has grown.
That's only one study.
Okay, well, I have a study showing here that vegans' brains do shrink when they're deficient in certain minerals.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
Because that study was reversed. That study was reversed. I have another study that shows.
Okay, there we go again.
Because this study, they
refer back to my earlier comment.
They claimed that vegans actually lost brain matter. And here's the thing.
These were from vegan sources.
Here's the thing. I pulled that study up, and if you go to PCRM, that study's on there. That study was reversed because it turns out that when they kept on the diet, their brains re-expanded.
Oh, so at first your brain does shrink.
So you have a momentary lapse of brain power.
Yeah. Well, so what I am concerned, and this
It's like when you make a bigger mess before you have to clean it.
So
up.
your
brain gets smaller.
You'll find that study on
just
PCRM.
stick with it.
It's actually on there.
I'll look at that.
So,
That's
my
fine.
brain's
But
shrinking.
I do know that
Just stay the course.
I'm concerned that
The brain will come back.
the brain will come back. It's a part of detox. Get rid of the brain, and then
That more or less was it. So during the transition period, because these are people who were on regular American diets.
Yeah.
So during the transition period, there was, and it wasn't just brains. There was other parts that changed as well. But when they kept on that diet, they did follow-up studies on those same individuals. Their minds not only expanded, it also reversed cognitive impairment.
Okay. Yeah. So, I think, I don't know. Again, there's two studies that kind of defer that, but I do worry across generationally, like will we devolve from eliminating this kind of stuff? There's no real long-term studies of that. There have been studies in animals that's shown when you take a cat, which is a carnivore, and try to feed them vegetarian food, it's not really apparent at first. The next generation is worse.
But
I saw that story.
That's a different.
But their offspring are worse. Their offspring are even worse. Like they've done this for generations.
So hold on. But you were also talking about a creature who evolved in a completely. Their digestive tract is a third of the size of ours. They can't absorb the nutrients. Our digestive tract is far longer, so we can absorb those nutrients. You do realize that, right? Carnivores is shorter because
the lion's intestine is like 5 feet long. Or something,
it's like 5 or 6 feet.
20 some feet. So
do lions have both small and large intestines?
No, it's only like 5 or 6 feet long. We have a longer digestive tract which absorbs,
and it comes out as wildebeest.
Like when you eat a chunk of steak, that thing courses through your body for weeks, and basically you have a rotting piece of flesh in your body.
That's sensationalism to say.
A little bit, but it's
some of that is. There are digestive tracts that do hold
bacteria, which is a part of the rotting process. So you have rotting vegetables in your gut, anyways, feeding the bacteria. So,
they
but
digest
we have
faster.
That's a misnomer, though. Actually, if you switch to a carnivore diet, I dare you to try.
Don't do it.
And check out your digestive process. It is
but diarrhea in the beginning, the diarrhea will subside.
Not according to Rogan.
A lot of times it does subside. But it's impressive because so 70% of vegans abandon the vegan diet. Most of them complain of digestive issues. Mm-hmm. Fiber is totally undigestible.
Yeah, the studies I looked at showed hardcore vegans at least revert back to vegetarianism,
right,
and incorporate at least fish or pescatarianism, and so which is what you did, Aaron.
But on those studies, if you go back, the strict carnivore diet has over a 90% reversal.
Okay, yeah, which is good.
Yeah,
like you're right. But my whole point for standing up for the carnivore diet is the fact that veganism will try to vilify this thing and push even processed vegan food because it's not meat I think the American public, specifically, is being misled by saying, now I can give my money to these huge corporations. That's where it is.
No, I have to back you up on that. Yeah. I have to back you up on that because there is way too many vegan foods that are processed out there that label themselves as good foods.
Yeah.
And it's still processed food. Mm-hmm. So still, it's not necessarily good for you.
Right.
I can go out and eat French fries every night. I'm a vegan. And that's true. It's going to take a toll on me.
Exactly.
Not a long time.
Yeah. So I have an idea to get to the ethical statement quicker. How about you go with a list of your concerns for being carnivore? I'll read a list of concerns for being vegan. Don't defend the accusations or whatever, but then we jump into the final topic.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Go first.
So, I actually didn't have a list of these. I just go on top of my head. So, as far as ethics go,
no, we're not.
No.
Risks of being a carnivore.
Risks.
What things should we prepare the audience for? Say, hey, if you tend to eat them, even if it's eating meat only, what things should they be concerned about? Fears should they?
I didn't make that list.
Okay. But you mentioned a few, so heart disease, Alzheimer's,
so heart
cancer.
Again, provably, 21-year study was done on mental states. And the 21-year study was conclusive on saturated fats. And so conclusively, and again, I doubt you have any 21-year studies you're going to bring up. So this 21-year study did bring up the fact that it's saturated fats, and that's all saturated fats. So I will not place it completely on meat, all right? Because there's also saturated fats inside, dairy. Right. There's also saturated fats in donuts, right? So I can't put 100% on a meat product, all right? So, but in a 21-year study, yes, cognitive impairment and Alzheimer's were both contributed through the saturated fats.
Okay, so meat diet, be concerned of your saturated fat intake because you got brain impairment, Alzheimer's. And then you also mentioned heart disease and cancer.
And heart disease, again, was reversed. Again, go to pcrm.org.
Yeah.
They were able to reverse multiple instances of heart disease. Literally clearing arteries.
Oh.
Yeah. No. It was a conclusive study. Literally.
No, it's not conclusive. It's actually being debated in the vegan society right now.
No. In these studies.
I mean, look at
These were heart patients. These were heart patients, and these are doctors.
So were the doctors that did some of the studies that you debated before because these are vegan doctors.
This is before and after. These are before and after studies.
And there are doctors that are disputing that right now. Look up Dr. Ornish. He's vegan.
Again.
And he's saying this is not conclusive.
Again. But these are before and after pictures they took of the arteries. Before and after pictures of the arteries on the study. They were not clear before. They put them on a plant-based diet. They reversed the heart disease.
It's not. They weren't pictures that showing no heart disease. What they're saying is it questionably improved some of the heart. They cannot say it reversed. They cannot say reversed. That's what the people. And it's a 50-50 battle right now. So you can say with as much confidence as you want. What I'm telling our listeners, look it up yourself. Dr. Ornish right now is leading the study, and he is a vegan doctor.
Yeah, and I like Dr. Ornish. Okay, yeah. I would defer to, because again, it's a whole council of physicians. I would defer to PCRM. So
I feel like I need to do a little bit of more upfront work on these podcasts. Boy, I am like, you guys are really.
I only know Dr. Oz. So.
You guys are really throwing a lot of
that's a fun
research.
Show.
So hey man, tip of the old James hat to you guys on the amount of research and sightings. But
so here's a personal experience. I mean, I'll say someone very close to me.
All right.
Was getting sick in some areas, internal bleeding. And this person went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "You know what?
No more monkey." No, I'm sorry. Sorry, that's a personal story.
Before we even throw out the big C word, right? In America, cancer, right? Seems like it's just everywhere.
I'm glad it was cancer. You said.
Before we even say that that's a possibility, because they were both kind of feeling that. This doctor did say to this person whom I know very personally, very close to me, I want you to go vegan for 1 month and come back, and we're going to run a bunch of tests. And the person did it, went pretty much whole foods, straight vegan, water kind of thing, came back, and it was just, long story short, it was just a non-issue.
Like they got better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Like,
there was
like it was night and day, not
night and day.
not
So
nothing
The
happened.
evangelical would call it a miracle.
You have
Okay.
to you have to clarify what was the C word.
Cancer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they had cancer. Just to clarify the C word.
But they're not saying that they had cancer.
Oh, they. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, he
But
said
Right.
they were better.
Yeah. So, but it wasn't just meat that was cut out. Like, all sugars were cut out.
sugar.
Salt
that's
was
like
cut
the
out.
That's a damn devil right there, boys.
We can agree.
Dairy was
Sugar. There's sugar in this microphone.
everything.
But
right.
not on the carbohydrate study.
Right.
That was
We're breathing in sugar. But everything was cut out,
yeah.
and this person went to straight a whole living type of life.
Right.
Yeah.
Even
Actually,
if that
that sounds-
included meat.
It sounds like something like sounds like something I actually want to try. Like
Straight vegan?
like some type of reset. I don't know what that looks like yet, but you talked about doing 15. Like you did an extended period of water detox. You know, which could I don't know. You're talking about, you know, cutting a lot of stuff out. You know, I think that sounds like it could be an interesting thing to try.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is the medical establishment are human too, and they grow and they change and they develop and they learn.
Yeah.
So what they known in the past was, well, let's run some tests and let's start chemo right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And instead, they're like, you know what, let's take a step back, completely change your diet by living whole, and let's come back in a month and we'll run tests. You know?
Yeah.
That's awesome. And earlier I kind of put my dukes up for a minute, and I didn't mean to, because beans, those are GI tract inflammatory. So I want to agree with you.
Cool.
Because there was a program I did in talking about detoxes. Because it's funny because I did a 21-day detox. I part of the Hackett Medical Group in Menor. They had a program called Live Aware, which is basically like sick and tired of being sick and tired. Well. So they poured all their research into dietary stuff and GI tract inflammatories and leaky gut and everything like that. And it was one of those learn how to heal yourself, people. Like it's not rocket science, but it is science. You have to figure things out. But it just really ran down the list of, you know, kind of everything we're talking about and what you need and how to get it and where to get it from. And well, I eat this, and now you got to eat these 5 things, and that's where you get that. So I did a 21-day detox, and again, the biggest culprit was sugar.
Yeah.
No sugar. Christ, find stuff without sugar these days. Like, it was difficult. So I ate a lot of the same things for that 21 days. I made like lentils. You know, I made a big pot of just, you know, it wasn't filet mignon and like stuff, you know, but it was good enough food. And after 21 days, I went and had my post-physical, and basically the numbers that I put up across the board, no drug that could make anything close to what I was putting up. Now, again, that wasn't just, that was, partly vegetarian, partly vegan, whatever you want to say, but also it was a big part of processed food and sugar and things like that. So, I mean, the proof is in the pudding when you come down to it. I'm not saying your pudding is, god awful, but it's not the pudding I would choose.
Right.
And we all have
He
challenges.
likes liver pudding.
We all have challenges with our pudding.
The pudding.
But anyway, so when you get a couple people have mentioned the detoxes, and I have personal experience with the
proof is in the
detox and what it did for me. And
Yeah, absolutely.
it's like, well,
Right.
Jesus.
That's when Mike turned me on to intermittent fasting.
Okay.
I'm a huge proponent of that.
Yeah.
because it's just become a part of your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Take a look.
I agree. I think, so you shared your concern. I just want to run down the list of vegan concerns I have. So, vegan listeners, I think if you're going to do a vegan diet, some things you just want to be aware of is...
And again, consult your doctor.
Yeah, consult your doctor, but you're at risk for being light on DHA, which is important for brain and reproductive health. Imbalanced fatty acids, so omega-3s versus omega-6s. Omega-6s are running rampant right now, and they really need to be balanced. Supplementation can be dangerous, so consult your doctors on the amounts. Some have been shown to cause the C word and other things. many B vitamins, not just B12. Most people are low in that. Zinc is another nutrient you want to be aware of. There has been a recent study in 2019, I believe, showing that vegetarians are at a higher risk of stroke, and they believe a very low cholesterol levels are it causes a 21 or 20% increased risk for hemorrhaging stroke. And then there's a debate going on right now, and there's an article in PubMed showing that your body tries to create creatine, but if you get it from natural sources, you're less likely to develop Alzheimer, depression, birth defects, cognitive decline, and heart disease. There's no vitamin A. You have to convert that from beta carotene if you're a vegan, vitamin D3 deficiency, and vitamin K2. And if I mentioned iron or not, I might have duplicated that one. Those are the concerns.
But these aren't hard. Pardon me. Yeah, pickled bamboo is awesome. They aren't hard to supplement. And there's even more studies coming out with ocean-based vegetables that are fantastic. So,
I would just caution, these are things to be aware of. So, you can supplement, but again, if you're like me, I tend to not supplement. I tend to not vaccinate. I tend to try to really strengthen my body naturally. I am.
Again, consult your doctor.
Quite efficient. I think there's
everybody on the show is not an anti-vaxxer.
Right. So I definitely think like whether you think it's easy or not everything supplementally converts 100% the same way. So
let me ask you guys this. I mean, we might as well go through. You got 15 minutes.
Okay. Go ahead.
I mean, we could cut this.
We were gonna talk about ethics and environment.
Yeah, we still have ethics.
Okay, we can get right into this. May lead into that.
All right, cool.
We can cut off. Is there biblical support in Genesis for being a meat eater or not?
Okay,
you know what? I was wondering this the whole time.
Never take Genesis literally.
Right. Any biblical support, being that we are a biblical podcast sometimes.
I can bring one up.
Because my general reading of Genesis almost does, I would have to say, a plant-based diet.
I think this spins into ethics.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we can start with the biblical topic. Like, what sort of biblical references? Plant-based. I kind of think of both, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't. Do you have anything further on that, or do you want to take?
No, I was just wondering your guys' views on it, because my just broad reading of Genesis.
Yeah.
I would say, all right. I mean,
but I would say that it does veer that way, because if you look at the quote unquote Garden of Eden, right? Yeah. So in Genesis, and again, I don't take it literally, but it would veer towards that, and our evolution would show that too. Again, not only our digestive tract, but our teeth, because our teeth are actually not carnivore teeth. So everything in our
carnivore teeth.
I will grant you that, but not carnivore teeth.
True.
So if I'm looking at Genesis 29 here, it says, God said, "See, I've given you every plant yielding seed that is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food."
But he didn't say only them.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, does it promote one way or another?
But he's right.
And
then
it seems to promote that.
That was pre-fall, though.
But then why did God make things in the order that he did? It would imply. I mean, you would think he put it here for us. Yeah.
I would like to
in support of us.
So Genesis, I would actually like to cover in a different, because that's a ton to unpack there. So I would like to actually cover the creation in its own episode.
There's a whole bunch of people in the Bible eating animals. Like they're celebrating
after
they're eating an animal. They're doing
I will say,
they're eating an animal.
To Gumby's point of Genesis alone, it is interesting to know that, yes, it does seem like it's all plants, because there was no death, and that sort of ethical question that you raised. There was no question about it. Now we determine our own appetite for death, no matter what you subscribe to. So the first killing of an animal was God skinning animals for Adam and Eve. You know what I mean? And so that is the commercialization of animals as a product starting then.
I would say that it's more symbolic, but okay. Again, Genesis 1 through
okay,
Genesis
yeah.
1 through 11 is very symbolic.
So if we take if you read it literally, that would be part.
Well, that and I'm actually, as we're talking, I'm doing a quick, and I'm like, some of it is like, we'll hold the phone.
Are you holding on Genesis or are you going Old Testament?
Well, I'm going Genesis right now.
cool.
Because it says, I have given you every plant yielding seed on the surface of all the earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding seed, and it shall be food for you. And to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the sky, and everything that moves on the earth which has life, I have given every green plant for food. Right? Mm-hmm. So basically saying, you don't need all that. You have the plants and the seeds that give you all that.
Yeah, it does seem to promote that.
Yeah.
I mean,
So as I scrolled through, I did see some, but then I saw that was the kind of recurring one where.
Using another Old Testament example, there is Daniel. Now, Daniel put him and all of his men on a vegan diet because it was a vegan diet. He said, "Don't give us any meats, etc., 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 etc. We'll eat only." It kind of translates down to lentils. There's some room there, but more or less it's legumes and lentils and stuff like that. So they will survive on vegetarian food, and they outperformed every single man there, and that diet's actually referenced twice in the book of Daniel. And so
this is where we get the Daniel fast.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And on that fast, they outperformed every single meat eater the king could throw at them. So, I mean, right there, that's one. Another one I'll bring up is New Testament. There's going to be a little bit of room here for debate. Jesus,
He sure did.
technically, is actually never referenced. Now, watch this. Is actually never referenced as eating meat because the only meat he's ever referenced as eating is a fish. Okay, the only thing. However, there's a debate among scholars because the word for fish is the same word as biscuit. So among scholars there is a debate on what he was actually eating, on whether it was a biscuit or whether it was a fish. I personally don't care. Take it however you want it. I don't care how you interpret it.
They were a fishing industry.
No, they were. And
their whole culture was based on that.
Yes. So the worst we could say is Jesus was a pescatarian. Because that's the only
or Mediterranean.
Right. So that is the only thing that's the only meat he's ever recorded possibly eating. All right. And then of course some scholars say it was a biscuit. Whatever it is, either way I'm okay with it. So
what? You don't have a problem with Jesus?
No. What I'm saying. What I'm saying is interpretation,
Gotcha.
right? I don't care either way because again, if you are catching your own fish and skinning your own fish, that's actually not what I'm against. I'm against setting out boats and emptying the ocean out en masse to create, fish fillets for people who are too lazy to go out and fish their own fish. So
I think that's valid. I'm curious of what Russ would have to say about that. Jesus populating a fishing net to basically slaughter fish. How does that measure up to your ethic measuring stick?
now, before we progress to our next part of our subject, a word from our sponsors.
Hey, it's Gumby here from Bible Over Brews. Are you looking to get some editing done in your podcast? Maybe you don't have the hours or time it takes to edit your content, but you still need to get it done. Maybe you need a customized track or a song for your podcast or your next project without having to worry about copyright issues. Well, look no further than soulworkmusic.com, where this footwork is done for you. I'll get that editing, post-production work done right for you, or create you that customized song that fits your project or podcast to help support your life's work. If this sounds like what you need, reach out to me at soulworkmusic.com. Again, that's soulworkmusic.com. And remember, there's nothing taboo over brew.
Well, again, that was like a specific situation for right then. Weren't like they all like starving and like they needed food right now. So like, okay, if we're all sitting around and we're about to die and a deer walks across,
Primitive
like,
culture.
Hey, let's go knock it down and we'll be taken care of. So and again, I look at it more as that. I hate to say the word symbolic because I know that's a very
Within its context.
Yeah, I agree. It's an ancient culture. We've evolved since then. There's no reason to send giant fishing boats out to empty the ocean out I mean, if I can get the same nutritions from eating something where I'm not participating in the mass slaughter of something, yeah. Now, if you want to go out and fish and go grab a fish, go do it.
Well, I think like I don't disagree entirely, but I will say like I do think you push the buck down the road a little bit when you say, well, go ahead and manufacture all these supplements and stuff like that. So cultures have always found rivers and streams and water to evolve around, because that is, to me, you walk into the woods. Have you ever seen spinach? Have you ever seen tomatoes? You know what I mean? Have you? What?
Yes, I have.
In woods?
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. Like, how many vegetables?
It was actually really cool.
How much produce do you see in nature?
I found carrots too.
Okay, carrots.
That was really cool.
So root vegetables.
Yeah, it was really cool.
You
Yeah.
can find potatoes. You can find garlic.
But then that
But it's probably
so
not
so kind of
common.
the road you're steering down is it's the way we've it's the way we've always done it type of thing.
No, actually, it's not.
And what I mean by that is just over years and years, like, okay, we're a fishing community. This is how we survive, by taking advantage of the fish and the water and the resources available therein.
Right.
Which that's why I mean why this is they did meat and they did this and stuff way back when. That's how we survived. And then we came along that vein, and now here we are. So
I'm actually trying to paint a different point.
okay. All right.
My point is, we're cultured now to assume vegetables are what have always been. Just like drinking another mammal's milk is something we've always done. But since you were born, since I was born, I've always seen these vegetables. And they've always been given a higher than thou sort of reputation. But you never see them in the woods. Very few of them exist in nature. And in Ohio especially, they're very seasonal. You know what I mean? So you have water, which is year-round, fish sources, and even some vegetation and frogs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you have animals year-round.
Well, then you get into geographical location.
And you go back to primitive people.
Who's to say future people won't have this?
Because we can grow virtual gardens all year long.
Right now. But
Yeah.
who's to say with health and...
Oh no, you're going to the
epidemics
rapture.
I'm saying, like, you can't just assume that, technology can solve this, because technology has gotten us to this point where we're fooled by what's in grocery stores, and we're so separated from our food choices and the ramifications that now you're saying, well, let's throw some more technology at it and do vertical growth, which we'll get into. But I think we stick on the ethical part. You know what I mean? So you look at the New Testament. And they did farming, they did agriculture.
Yeah.
They talked about not even mixing. They didn't want hybridization of their seeds. They said only grow these plants over here, not in the same field with other things. So
Like they told not to even wear hybridized fabrics.
Fabrics should be mixed with
yeah. So I do think this type of stuff has been let thrive by God. Jesus promoted some of it. And
That being said, though, some of the native cultures, even right from this region, you could talk about the Iroquois, okay? Because which is actually 5 nations, right? So talk about the Iroquois. There actually was vegetarian cultures right here in the Iroquois. So I mean, we can say that they didn't, but we have examples of it right here in our own areas.
I mean, I don't understand how that'd be possible in the winter, though. I mean, you'd
They
have
did it.
walnuts. You'd have acorns.
Now, I will say I have not studied how they did it because, frankly, it was a brief study I did on native cultures across from the Iroquois was part. Ohio, Kentucky, and going up into Canada, I think. So I did a brief study on the Iroquois, and there was the 5 nations. I did not, and that's where I learned about how one or two. I think it was 2. No, one of them was like a vegetarian. The other one was like a pescatarian. Okay, so, and I did not study how they did it, but I thought it was fascinating. I found it
I'd
fascinating.
like to understand how.
Yeah, and because one of the nations would hunt bison, right?
Yeah.
So I found the diversity among the tribes fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see pescatarian. I really can't see vegetarian. I mean, you can get roots most of the season.
Yeah.
But I mean, man, if something goes wrong,
Again,
any famine.
I didn't. And by the way, fun fact. So the Native Americans created the first GMO.
Oh, the corn?
Yeah, because corn was actually a tiny little plant before, and they hybridized it with another plant to create what we now know as corn.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating. Now that's natural GMO. That's not splicing genes, right? It's a natural. It's more or less your cross pollination, grafting plants. It's plant grafting. So which is fascinating. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's innovated from a natural.
Well, but to use the historical context, if you look at gladiators, okay, they did a DNA analysis of their bones. Yes, they did. They did a DNA.
I can't believe you're going here.
They did a DNA analysis of their
Game
bones.
changers time.
It can only go.
But this was a real study. It was a real study.
Again, you'll have other people, other doctors.
But I pulled the study. And it's real. They examined, I forget how many.
Well, go ahead and make your point, and I'll tell you why it's both.
So, feel free. But in the DNA study, they did find out that they were predominantly, now they were not vegetarian. Okay. I will tell you they were not vegetarian. It was an omnivore diet, but it was predominantly vegetarian. Okay. So I'm not going to say that they're vegetarian. They were.
Okay. I just want to know what you're going to say.
So, but they were predominantly vegetarian. Now some people would say that that's because, well, they were too poor. Well, it's not true. It's because they actually did understand a diversity of diet creates a better warrior. So, and if you go back and research gladiators, those gladiators, the winning gladiators, did very well, and went on to actually create their own schools of gladiators. They bought their own freedoms. So,
they bought their freedom.
Yes,
exactly.
I thought
because why would they have to buy their freedom?
Well, that depended. So some gladiators, so gladiators fascinated me. I did a study on gladiators. Okay, because for some reason probably because I watched the movie Gladiator. Okay, it was a great movie. So I did do a study on gladiators. So some gladiators were slaves, right, and that is 100% true.
The majority.
Yeah. Yes. In context, yes. Some of them, more than you realize, actually were self-imposed gladiators. Okay, and that's because you could win great fortune as a gladiator. So there was actually a lot that would subjugate themselves and turn themselves in as gladiators to win big rewards and have their own establishments, and their own terrain, and their own land, and their own. So a lot of them to create their own gladiatorial schools. All of that's well documented among the Roman records. So there was a diversity among them. Yes, but I would say at least 60% of them were either POWs or slaves. Yes.
Right. And so you're saying because gladiators were mostly plant-based and
they were omnivores. They were omnivores.
So some of the speculation is they ate a lot of grains.
They did.
Because it made them fatter, and when you get stabbed by a knife, you feel less through fat, and you're more likely to survive it.
See, but that study doesn't stand up to the records we have. The records, the Roman records, and the depictions we have of the Roman warriors, because we have many depictions of Roman warriors. So the records and the depictions, they're not fat. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know when's the last time an artist has been inspired by a fat person. It's usually, romanticizing these kind of things.
Again, if we go into Roman record and depictions, okay, there's I have not found, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
I think there's high rates of heart disease.
I have actually not found any records of the gladiators having high body fat.
They have high heart disease as well as the Egyptians, who heavy grain based. Yeah.
Yeah. The winners.
This is not ethical.
The winners.
We've gone off.
Go ahead. Ethical. Go.
Okay. So I'm going to jump down to one that I really think you kind of inspired me, Russ, when you talked about people being unconscious of walking in and shopping, and kind of like the detachment from their decisions in life and their food. Well, I was kind of thinking, Aaron and Russ, you guys look like you keep in pretty good shape, right? You work out, you train, and it's a conscious choice.
Oh, trust me, we hit each other hard last week.
I don't think anyone forces anyone to work out, though. So I think it's probably...
Okay, yes.
Okay. So does that make you burn more calories?
Absolutely.
Does that make you have to increase your consumption?
It doesn't make you have to. I mean...
Actually, it does.
You should if you want to survive.
Well, theoretically, yes, if I would be able to function if I'm not, but I don't keep track of that, so I can't answer that question.
But you're making a conscious decision to do something you enjoy, which has ramifications of killing other species potentially, because there's always loss of life in production of stuff.
Wait, you're saying like fighting can kill people? Wait.
I'm saying yes, the consequence of feeding a desire of training and fighting.
Okay.
You have to get nutrients, and nutrients are either transported, bugs are smashed against windows. Most crops are produced, like soy and wheat, are produced in monocrop cultures, corn, where they hire people to not only poison bugs, but also displace animals, rodents and deer, and kill them either by shotguns protecting their fields and crops, or during the farming process.
Oh, you're kind of losing me here.
So what I'm saying is, like, a true ethical vegan is still just being oblivious to the amount of death that they're doing.
When they harvest a 1,000 acres, they're killing 1 million rabbits and stuff in the process of
displacing.
You know that's easy to answer, right? It's easy to answer.
You gotta eat something.
So you're talking about casualties that are not accounted for.
But I'm not.
All right. So
bound.
Ethically, you are not trying to kill a mouse. You're not trying to kill a bug.
Correct.
When you are doing dairy or beef or anything else, you are directly imposing your will over that animal to kill them. Okay? So we're not talking about something that's accidentally killed. We're talking about something that's killed on purpose and consciously.
Okay, let me put it this way. Ethically, when you go to McDonald's and you buy your vegan burger, are you giving your money to a place that...
No, you're giving your money to fucking Burger King. Yeah. And I have a problem with that. That's
right,
why
exactly.
That's why I don't, because Burger King doesn't say, okay, here's the vegan portion of our business.
Right.
Yeah.
They're, like I said earlier, they're tapping into the vegan
Here's
fad.
our
So they're
vegan
like, we got to get this money because burgers are going down. Okay, we offer the Beyond Burger now. Yay, vegans, we're all... No, it's all the same pot.
Yeah,
they're filling the same pot by the fad.
So same corporate...
That's my exact correlation. What I'm trying to do.
So you're saying, like, because we beat each other up in a sport?
Because you're doing more than what's...
You kind of lost me on that.
Because you're doing more than what's necessary to survive and exist.
You're expending more energy.
You're expending more energy. You're increasing your consumption. Therefore, you are supporting more death.
No, because we purposely try to buy a vegan.
And
what I'm saying...
You're saying that my consumption of the soy fields calls for more chopping up of animals.
Well, you don't need to do more consumption. You don't need to be a fighter.
Again, it's purpose. So
it's not purpose because you don't need to train.
Want to be?
No. What I'm saying is, so the products we buy, and mind you, by buying the products, we are supporting farmers, right? So by the products that we buy, all right, people are not purposely trying to kill things.
They are.
No, they're
not. They
not.
hire people with shotguns to shoot birds out of the sky from.
So basically, what you're coming down to is the ratio of what I'm killing.
So who's more
for my life?
Yeah.
and me saying, like, if you want to flat out ask, your choice as being a vegan still causes the slaughter of innocents that don't want to be dead. Well, okay, if that's the argument, yes. When they plow through a field with a big combine and chop up a bunch of rabbits for me to get my spinach, okay, yes, that happens. I mean, would I choose a different way to get my spinach that didn't chop up all those rabbits? Of course I would. Whereas someone might say, well, give me those rabbits. I'll take them and eat. Like, but I don't know. I mean, I guess if you're looking for, like, you're going to be guilty by the end of this conversation, okay, yes, I'll concede because nothing...
I actually have a question.
So to that point, though, I have purposely recently started trying to buy from as many vertical gardens as I can because there is zero life lost in a vertical garden. It's enclosed.
How do you
It's
shop from a vertical garden?
So if you look at the produce, so vertical gardens will tell you who they market with. So I try to buy from places that support vertical gardening because number one, there's zero loss of life. There's no pesticides. It's organic.
There's still transportation of the stuff that goes into that, so there's always loss of life. Bugs.
That's the point of
you're reading it
bugs.
into the
Wait. So you're talking about bugs in a windshield.
What I'm saying is,
well, no. To his point, though, because we get to that point where so along the line of fuzzy, cuddly, furry things down to ugly, slimy things. Oh, I don't care about those. Let's eat all those. Where do you put the stake in the ground for what you would eat or what you would not eat?
That's one of them. Yes.
So that's part of it, and then you're saying like, okay, if I have a field of rabbits or a field of corn with some rabbits in it, where am I putting the sickle through? And am I just as guilty for killing the rabbits that are dispersed in the corn, or chopping the whole field of rabbits? Like
I'm saying, like, if you could save 200 rabbits by stopping to work out,
right?
Do you work out?
It's a choice.
So I'm going to say, first off, he's trying to use rabbits because everybody loves Bugs Bunny.
Actually, rabbits kill people. Like that's why it's called rabbit
it's actually. I see what he's trying to do.
Instead of using rats, because nobody likes rats, he's using rabbits.
This gets into that ethical argument. Like and if you're going to put the ethics, he's right. He's going to continue to paint this corner where I get to the point where so you're killing these fruit flies. Everyone's going like this to the fruit flies. I'm a killer. I'm killing the fruit flies. Where do you draw that line? And again, then it becomes that personal, like the personal journey. I'm okay. I might sit here and think, well, I'm not really contributing anything to the poultry and the pork and the dairy and the meat because I don't eat. So what's the point? Well, again, okay, there's another point to be made on that same. Well, I'm not as bad as you, maybe as you,
because I kill one
because so my
it's far more than that if we can go into it.
So I can sustain myself.
You have to support the industry, right?
So I can sustain myself for 5 years by killing 100 rabbits in this, whereas your 5 years takes that many more. I mean, if we're gonna do numbers thing again, everyone's got blood on their hands, whether it's fruit fly blood or pig blood. We all got blood on our hands.
I agree with
wait.
Circle.
So to that point though, Russ, the grain you eat per year is less than the grain that his cow ate in the last 3 years. So
not true. My cow doesn't eat grain.
Okay. Now
no, it doesn't because it's halved and it's in your freezer.
It
doesn't eat anything.
It doesn't eat monocrop.
But again, I'm going to squash this real quick. Ready?
Mm-hmm. Like a bug.
Ready? How much grain and vegetation per year does it take to support the cattle that this country eats?
It shouldn't take any grain.
And vegetation does it take to support the cattle in this country that makes meat?
So you're talking about like a grass.
Now you're back to the commercial.
Well, none of us are gonna guess, so just tell.
Yeah. No, I know.
So you're talking about cows grazing in the field.
In big agriculture, he's specifically referring
like
to.
Factory,
where we were talking about our personal
it's
ethics,
enough.
He's going back to now.
It's enough.
Something else. You're doing a bait and switch. It's not even applicable.
It actually is.
It's enough to feed all of us.
Ethically.
No, environmentally.
Both. So it equates to what 800 million people eat in the globe.
And instead, how many people does it feed?
Now,
through
hold
the
on.
meat?
Ready? Far less. Anyway, if you took that grain that you're feeding the cattle, you would feed 800 million people, correct?
Yeah, but feeding 800 million people shitty food versus less people.
It doesn't have to be. Anyway, our populations in poverty right now equal 800 million people.
Yeah.
So
I see it.
if you stop feeding your cattle, you could literally wipe out poverty overnight.
First of all, don't say my cattle. My cattle is done through regenerative agriculture, which do not eat hay or grain. They roam a land that is full of when you eat a
Mike, you should know when I talk to you. I'm talking about the general populace.
All right. Well, so why I'm offended a little bit is because we were talking about like ethics and a personal decision, and you're pretty much right of what I was getting at. But what I'm saying is like humans, especially in the first world, are selfish, and when we make a decision, there's consequence. So I think as the same token as a fatty walking into the store buying pork chops.
Wait, I rescinded the fatty. Come on.
I couldn't think of a better word.
See, I told you. Both sides.
Why does everyone look at me when you say fatty?
What I'm saying is like someone who's obsessed with working out and
apathetic. How about instead of fatty, we say the apathetic person?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I believe we're all apathetic by choice because when I want to do sports and perform, and when this or that, I am actually subscribing to more consumption, which has a footprint.
So
You know what I mean?
But we do have, and we do have to survive.
And I just don't want to be the apathetic guy. So I think we all need to ask. Yeah.
we
all
got to
need
survive. That's a great point. I
We
mean,
do.
And to that, back to your point in terms of the whole poor, if we would just stop eating cows, I mean, no. Look at, I mean, in Africa, colonialism, white people coming in there and showing how all of Africa should live with manufacturing, with XYZ, instead of leaving them alone to hunt their own food,
Yeah.
which included meat.
Well, not to mention 33% of land is desert. You cannot grow vegetables without significant scientific investment.
Yeah.
And goats, I mean, look at, you want to talk about Old Testament, the Middle Eastern people had herds of goats to digest the grasses that do grow in this arid climate. That's 33% of the land.
Right. So what is more ethical? Us giving them the ability to produce synthetic seeds to make their own rice? Or them going back to a way of life that existed for thousands of years?
Or airdropping a
Well, now you're
gazillion
talking.
pounds
Now you're
of
getting
rice.
into living in harmony.
Yeah.
With your environment.
Yes.
And then it's just sustainability, harmony. Like, okay, well, there's too many friggin' people, and again, now we can go around to another issue about too many of us and
Manufacturing.
Yeah, I mean, we can get,
an
I think-
apathetic guy who would rather just go to the store, get his chicken McNuggets, and go home and
that's
watch
the
his TV.
problem. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Do you know
Yeah,
that
but none
there
of that
is
existed there. None of that existed.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a
But
problem
it does-
there.
it
What we're talking
exists
about kind of gets back
now.
into the.
And
It's,
it
it's not.
did
They're
it.
not doing factory farming there.
Yeah.
At that time, they're
Right.
They're
The
supporting their
trouble
little
is-
tribes with their little hunting and
so-
they got their little crops. They had their little this and
most people are not as responsible as Mike. Okay.
Correct.
Most people. I mean, we're talking about 98.
I was gonna say most.
like
That's a study?
98.
There's a study?
I mean, 98% of all people are not as responsible as Mike. Okay, so 98% of people are getting their pork chops from your local mass-produced grocery store.
Agreed.
Okay, most 98% of people are going to fast food. 98% of people. And the trouble is that we have manufacturing plants that are pumping out so much meat right now that we have entire lakes that are nothing but manure lagoons and piss lagoons. I mean, they're taking not only is that taking over water space, okay, that pollutes the land and goes into the soil. The communities around them are suffering the highest amounts of cancer we've ever seen.
There's
In
bad
any
things.
populace.
And I think we all agree to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
There's a lot of
It takes a lot of
environments.
land. It takes a lot of water.
So-
I think we keep circling the mass factory drain here, and I don't think anyone here disagrees with
right.
Which is what the problem is
But it's not
with the
just
meat industry.
I think right now, potentially the burden is more on the current meat, but I also think it's monocrops. And the cows do eat more of the stuff that we can't eat, so you can throw that in with the grain measurement. And it's not quite as bad, but still horrendous, and I think we need to get away with it. But I'm afraid we're taking an eye off the ball and saying, like, as we switch diets, aren't we doing the same thing? By now, these monocrop cultures now just feeding humans and potentially perpetuating bad health in certain areas. And
Join us for the rest of the conversation on part 4 on Bible Over Brews.